And most that I've seen are trying to over deliver on the total like mass of the offer, rather than over deliver in terms of doing what you say you're going to do.
It's believable, but the other side of that to me is like the fulfillment side of things, because like I remember I joined a coaching program and they said it was like their hook was like, hey, we'll get you to $100,000 a month. This was like in 2016 or something like that. And I remember like most of the people don't continue on because you get so much stuff thrown at you and the offer is so complex and the fulfillment that you say, I'm not ready for the next thing. I need another year to be able to implement the stuff you've already given me. And so they can't continue on. But of course, when you make the like one video for $50, it's like continuing on is the most automatic, logical thing. So I'm not surprised in hindsight that your 2K would convert better than 10K, but there is a tendency to think that like you need to do the opposite and just make it better and better and better and make the promise bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, and you see it in delivery as well, because most retainers, and you see this in kind of ongoing programs and masterminds, and you see it in services as well. Most retainers end because of indigestion, not starvation. That the person is over delivering and giving them too much, and they can't possibly use it and consume it, and it initiates some kind of level of kind of shame or embarrassment, that they're like, you've given me all the stuff and you're trying to do these things, but we can't convert the calls because we don't have enough space. You've given me all the leads, but we can't actually call them. And in many cases, again, the inflation of those things actually terminates relationships earlier than it needs to be, rather than giving them the right dose. It's like giving them too much medicine and making them sicker, and then they go backwards. And most that I've seen are trying to over deliver on the total like mass of the offer, rather than over deliver in terms of doing what you say you're going to do and making you easy to work with. Because this is completely underrated, and be fun and easy to work with, and have that, over deliver on those pieces rather than trying to give people too much stuff, because people feel ashamed when they can't use it all.
Yeah, that's 100% true. I actually meant to ask you that because I know, in our world, a lot of people have hit your kind of like 8 figures in sales kind of numbers. That's not necessarily unique to me, but what I think is really, really cool is you've kind of touched on a little bit your fulfillment side. Like if I understand correctly, is like crazy lean. Like it's you and a VA, like you're doing, you got a 7-figure business per year, and all it is just you and someone else. I'd love to hear your thoughts on just like how you're able to manage that. And also, I know you're a big advocate for like, everybody else tries to avoid this kind of one-to-one, but that's something that you actually kind of have embraced.
Yeah. I mean, they're both similar ends of the same stick, but after doing it for a long time and, cutting my teeth, I was marketing director of a big company that had an exit, and it was really easy for me to step into consulting. So consulting clients were coming to me kind of en masse, 12 years ago. And I was like, I'm a consultant. And I went out and I sat in people's offices and gave them great strategies and charged daily rates, and realized that no one fucking paid attention to what I was saying anyway in these big corporates, but they just pay me lots of money. And so for a few years, I set my stall out with the identity as a consultant, and then later on as a coach. And what I've come to realize over the last few years is that coaching, consulting, mentorship, creator, service provider are not necessarily identities, they're modalities. So what I've just got really clear about is when I consult, when I coach, when I create, and when I mentor. For example, I consult to people on Zoom, and consulting is like, you've got a problem and I'll help solve it. I coach with people in group environments, which is, how to solve this problem, but I'll give you the tools or permission to do it, and, guide you towards doing it yourself. Mentorship is, this is how I do it. So I mentor our owners and I mentor their teams simultaneously, because they bring a bit of a mess of problems. And I say, rather than saying, this is how you do it, this is how you should do it, I say, this is how I would do it, this is how I approach those things. And everyone can take on that model and actually take the pieces from that they want to apply themselves. And so in compartmentalizing the modalities and the delivery pieces, I've been able to be very lean about how I do it and where I do it. I consult on Zoom, I mentor on Zoom, I coach in group environments, and I coach on Slack. So people have asymmetric access to me where we go back and forth and we coach on Slack with those pieces. And then I'm very, very clear about when I'm creating as well. I create for my people. I have a workshop, every second week with my clients where I'm showing them something new and creating something. And then in that creation time, I'm making things for me and I'm making things for my clients. And I found that the closer I can get to making things for me and my inner circle of clients, the more successful they are as products. And I can turn those trainings into that. So it was really like an identity shift rather than necessarily, and not getting bogged down in this, I'm a coach, I'm a consultant, I'm an agency owner, and saying they're all useful modalities, they're all useful pieces. And if we get clear about where and how we can execute them and where we can do them, then we preserve our energy to make them the best they possibly can. There's only so many hours I can be on Zoom, right? But also with Slack and these asymmetric communication pieces, I can add a whole nother layer of service, a whole nother layer of revenue that doesn't depend on my energy going back and forth, being on Zoom. So I managed to be lean by being like really clear about where my energy is going in terms of the different modalities and keeping them really having strong boundaries around them. Like, for example, I only do Zoom calls on Tuesday and Thursday with clients. So my energy is focused there. And it means that I can maximize my energy, which ends up maximizing my creativity, which ends up maximizing my revenue, which ends up maximizing my profit.
Okay, so what you just said is something that I've heard lots, because we're both obviously like disciples in the Travis world, but I don't think enough people really understand the importance of it, because I see all the time, like where somebody will come to me, they're doing 10 to 25K a month usually, and they're delivering like 20 different solutions, and they're burnt out being stretched in a million different directions. And obviously by kind of using and mentioning the modalities that you're talking about, you understand when you can use one-to-many solutions, also the energy efficiency of like whatever I create for me, I'm creating for you. So it's like, it's a win-win. It's not like an either or, like whatever tool I'm creating for myself, you're also going to be, the beneficiary. Hey guys, if you like this video, you'll probably also like our free Facebook group, Beyond Agency Profits, Agency Lifestyle Design. You can get free copies of the book inside here. I look ridiculous. We're doing weekly Q&As, giving answers to all your questions. Some of the best, smartest, brightest people. We've got lots of industry leaders doing 7, 8 figures and beyond. It's a literal who's who of the brightest agency owners that I know, as well as lots of tips on scaling and stuff, books that work. So if you're not already part of it, you're going to want to be part of it. So make sure to click the link. I put it in the description of the video as well as in the pinned top comment below. So just scroll down and you can join, and it's totally free.